Claude Sirius was one of the only 10 first-class sorcerers in the entire world. His magic was said to be powerful enough to move the stars. At just 17 years old, he became the youngest professor ever at the Royal Academy of Magic. He was admired as a charismatic leader, expected to train a new generation of sorcerers. But after his early success, he suddenly disappeared without a trace. On the outskirts of the capital, a girl named Spica stands on top of a mountain, trying to learn how to fly. She prepares to jump. Her friend stands below, making fun of her ill-fated attempt to fly. Spica, unwavered, begins reciting the spell enchantment, then jumps with all the confidence in the world. Unfortunately, it goes as well as you would expect. She crashes and slides down the mountain, ending up bruised and with a bleeding nose. Arya laughs, finding her friend's near-death experience quite amusing. Spica sits up and tells her to be quiet. Arya admits she's impressed that she only got a nosebleed and jokes that maybe she should try martial arts instead. However, Spica's confidence is undeterred. She declares that she is going to become a sorceress, and this fall is just a minor setback. She tells Arya that she plans to enroll at Diana Academy of Magic, where Claude once taught. It has always been her dream to study there and become a first-class sorcerer like him. Arya mocks her, saying she doesn't have even a drop of magic. Spica yells that it's a process, and she has been practicing flying every day. Arya laughs, pointing out that jumping off a cliff isn't really flying. And besides, her choice for a role model really needs to be updated. Claude has fallen from grace since he left 2 years ago, abandoning his students and the academy when it was attacked by the cultists. Spica is not ready to change her mind and begins to pout. Arya tries to comfort her and suggests that if she really wants to get into Diana Academy, she will need a tutor. However, having a big family means she doesn't have the money to spare for a tutor. Smiling, Arya pulls out her wand. She declares that if Spica won't hire anyone, then she has no choice but to teach her herself. She casts an Aquarius spell, making a giant water heart appear from a nearby well. Spica is impressed. Arya jokes that Spica can pay her in other ways. Later, Spica climbs onto the roof of her house, determined to succeed without anyone's help. However, her attempt at flying goes as well as it did last time. Frustrated, Spica remembers Arya's words. The entrance exam for Diana is less than a year away, and in her current state, she would definitely fail. She has no money and doesn't know any sorcerers she can ask for help. Suddenly, she hears a voice telling her to be quiet. She looks around and sees a cat talking to her. She is shocked and wonders perhaps she has awakened some new magic that lets her talk to animals. The cat seems just as surprised that she can understand him. Spica mistakes it for a monster. Hearing this, the cat touches Spica and uses Sagittarius magic, making Spica float in the air. Moments later, she comes crashing down. The cat warns her to never call him a monster, as it used to be a human and a sorcerer as well. He was cursed and is now stuck in a cat's body. However, he can still use some of his magic. Spica quickly kneels down and begs the cat to be her master. She tells him that she doesn't care what he looks like. She just wants someone to teach her magic. The cat thinks this is crazy, but Spica insists she wants to get into Diana Academy. The cat reminds her that she just fell from the roof and dreams of wanting to attend the most elite magic school. Spica is well aware of this, and that's exactly why she needs a tutor. The Diana Academy is famous. Its graduates get top jobs. Sometimes they even end up working for the royal family. The cat is bored and decided to walk away, saying there's nothing in it for him. Spica begs him to wait. She doesn't have a lot of money, but agrees to do anything he asks of her. With a mischievous grin, the cat asks if she really means anything. Spica starts getting nervous and wonders why the cat suddenly looks so evil. She awkwardly says she doesn't want to, but if necessary, she can fulfill his desires. The cat immediately refuses, but he smiles, thinking it's too good an offer to ignore. The cat finally agrees after all. He can't turn away someone in need. Spica gets overly excited and immediately thanks him. The cat instantly starts cashing in and tells her to feed him. At Spica's home, she prepares food for the cat and serves him in her room. She even gives him a back massage while he lies down lazily. Seeing this spectacle, her younger siblings become concerned. They wonder if their sister has finally lost it after falling from the roof so much. Apart from weirdness, this does confirm that Spica is really the only one who can hear the cat talk. It starts to make her question her own sanity, but she quickly snaps out of it. She then reminds the cat about his promise to teach her magic. The cat agrees and the two of them head to a training ground to begin their first lesson. Spica gets excited, thinking that maybe she'll finally get to do real magic. As they arrive in the middle of a street, the cat orders her to raise her arm and chant, Wan Bi Ir Puh Lees. Trying to be a good student, Spica copies him and shouts with full effort. Just then, a cheerful waitress walks over and places a beer in front of them. Looking around, Spica finally realizes that they were standing in front of a bar. And this was all just a clever ruse to drink beer. Frustrated, Spica grabs the cat by the neck and shakes him, furiously yelling that this is not magic. She demands to know if he ever planned to teach her real magic. The cat struggles in her grip and begs her to calm down. He swears that he does plan to teach her. The cat realizes that now might be a good time to bail on the situation. He comes up with a plan to give her an impossible task, to trick her into quitting on her own. He calls her over and tells her that he needs her to do one last thing for him. If she completes it, he'll teach her magic properly. Spica, annoyed but determined, agrees immediately. The two head to the royal library. The cat looks around and explains that this library has a massive collection of books from all over the country, ranging from children's books to grimoires possessing boundless wisdom. The cat tells her about a specific grimoire called the Book of Providence. He tells her to find that book and use it to lift his curse. Spica, still hopeful, asks where the book is. The cat replies that he has no idea. If he knew, he wouldn't need her to find it, but he is certain that it's somewhere inside the library. Spica looks at the endless rows of books and starts screaming in frustration. There are probably a million books here, and it could take her years to find it, if not more. The cat casually agrees and tells her she has 1 month to find it. Further adding to her frustration, the cat reveals that if a non-human tries to read a book in this library, the library's guardian, the mother book, senses it. This triggers an alarm and guards will come running. So she must do it alone. If she can't do it, she can't be his apprentice. Despite this impossible task, Spica is as confident as ever and agrees to find it. Meanwhile, the cat sits comfortably on a shelf and watches. He is sure that there's no way she'll actually find it in a month. After all, apprentices are just too much work. While he is relaxing, he notices a flyer about Claude Sirius. How his good name is in ruins. Before he can dwell any further, Spica calls the cat over. Something strange has happened. She has accidentally turned herself into a cat girl. She explains that she was reading a book about polymorphing and suddenly turned into a cat. The cat explains that some of the books in this library are cursed or rigged with triggers. Just opening one can activate a spell. Spica continues exploring and finds all kinds of crazy books. One book pops up with 3D images, except these pop-ups are real monsters. Another one has infinite pages that keep flipping forever. She even finds a book shaped like a human body which is used to learn anatomy. After going through many books, Spica decides to call it a day and continue this craziness tomorrow. The cat is sure that she won't last long, maybe 3 days at most. Surprisingly, she comes back the next day, and the day after. She keeps coming, determined to find the book. Every day she reads through piles of books. Just like that, many days pass, and the month is almost at an end. One day she's sitting at a desk writing. Curious, the cat asks her what she's doing. She explains that she's learning how to read runes. The cat looks confused. Spica further explains that the Book of Providence is probably written in an ancient language. She doesn't know any, so she decided to study. The cat is impressed. He didn't expect her to be the kind who studies. Spica smiles and admits that she never used to like reading, but now she enjoys it. The more she learns, the more exciting it feels. She just wants to keep reading more. The cat realizes that he underestimated her. However, unfortunately, as the closing bell rings, the cat informs her that her time is up. It's been exactly 1 month since she started. Spica looks stunned. She begs for more time, but the cat tells her that it's not going to change anything. However, Spica is not ready to give up. She wants to get into Diana no matter what. The cat looks at her and finally asks her something he hasn't before. Why she is so focused on Diana Academy? What is it that she is aiming for? Spica tells him that she wants to become a first-class sorcerer just like Claude. The cat finds it strange. He wonders why she wants to be like Claude even though people call him a coward. Spica gets irritated and tells him that it's all gossip. She knows how strong Claude truly is. She recalls the day the heretics attacked Diana. She was near the academy and got caught in the middle of it. As the monster came closer, she had already given up on surviving. But then, Claude suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He jumped in, defeated the monster, and saved her. She wants to become someone just like him, someone strong enough to protect others. The cat is taken aback upon hearing this. He points out that saving others doesn't get you anything. Spica gets mad and thinks maybe he really did deserve getting turned into a cat. Meanwhile, the cat starts walking away. He tells her that he understands how she feels, but it's time they stop this. Continuing would just be wasting each other's time. However, Spica doesn't want it to end here no matter what. She starts looking around hoping to find something useful. Her sight lands on the massive book at the center, the Mother Book. She notices that the cover has runes on it. She reads them and realizes the word is summoner. As she calls it out, the book flips open on its own. Pages start flipping rapidly, and a secret hallway appears in front of them. They both get excited and decide to head it. However, little do they realize they are being watched. Inside, it's dark. Spica gets nervous and grabs the cat's tail. The cat quickly tells her to stop touching his tail. Light slowly starts filling the space. Spica is amazed. It looks beautiful, like a hidden world inside a book. The cat says this must be some kind of separate dimension. He guesses that this is where they store the real forbidden books and state secrets. They keep walking. Spica wonders out loud if the Book of Providence is really inside. Then suddenly a voice speaks up saying it is him. Both Spica and the cat freeze. In front of them, a large stone with a glowing eye opens. It is the Book of Providence. Spica is shocked that the talking stone is the book. Just as she tries to introduce herself, the book says her name first. She's stunned. The book reminds her that of course it knows who she is because it's the Book of Providence. Spica asks if the book knows how to break the curse on the cat. The book says the cat isn't just under a simple polymorphing spell. He is cursed with reincarnation. It's forbidden magic that rewrote his very being. His physical body is gone. Only his soul remains. Spica asks if it can be reversed. The book says yes, but only one person has the power. That person is Spica. She has the magic of rebirth inside her. She gets confused and says she doesn't know any spells. The book explains more. It asks if she ever noticed how fast she recovers from injuries. She remembers when she fell off the mountain and stood up again like nothing happened. The book says that this hidden power is inside her. She just hasn't realized it yet. Spica gets excited. She looks at the cat and asks if he hears all this. The cat is surprised too. He calls it a crazy coincidence. He also thinks about how Spica can understand him when others can't. It all seems connected. Spica gets thrilled. She starts believing that maybe she really can become a sorcerer. She asks the book what she needs to do now. The book says she must transfer her magic into the cat's body. Spica gets confused. The book clarifies. She has to do it through a kiss. Spica blushes hard. It feels like something out of a fairy tale, but kissing someone she's not in love with doesn't feel right. The cat tries to play it cool and says she should just think of it like CPR, but the book interrupts them. The book clarifies she has to kiss the cat on his butthole. Spica is horrified. The book explains seriously. The rectal method is the fastest way to transfer magic. It spreads through the entire body instantly and is the most efficient. The cat freaks out and yells too. He says it sounds like a magical suppository and he's not okay with this plan either. Spica screams that there is no way her first kiss is going to be on someone's butthole. Suddenly, the cat turns away and says they have a bigger problem. Someone is coming through the entrance. A guard appears, injured and bleeding. He tells them to leave because the library is under attack. Then a giant monster bursts in. The cat recognizes it. It's Orthrus, a magical beast the heretics use. He says the military shut down the heretics after the last attack, but clearly some of them are still around. They must be here to steal the forbidden books. Spica and the cat start running. She asks what they should do. The cat says the royal capital has probably already sent backup. They just need to stay alive until help comes. But suddenly, Orthrus spits fire from its mouth. The blast sends the cat flying. Spica grabs his tail again and he yells at her to stop touching it. They hide. Spica whispers that they'll die for sure if the fire hits them. The cat looks at the beast and realizes it's sniffing them out. He panics. They can't run from something like this. The cat stands tall, acting confident. He says they have no other option and suggests it's better for at least one of them to live. He tells Spica to go distract the monster while he makes a run for it. Spica thinks that maybe they should reverse the roles. But the cat gives her a sparkly-eyed look and says he's just a poor little kitty right now. Spixa reminds him that she's a poor little girl too. The cat says if that's the case, then she should just break his curse. If he becomes human again, he'll be unstoppable. Spica gets uncomfortable and begs for a different plan, but the cat yells that they're going to die if she doesn't do it. He tells her she doesn't have what it takes. He sounds disappointed. He repeats her earlier words, the part where she said she would do anything. He says those were just empty words and declares their deal off. Spica freezes in shock. The cat turns and starts walking away. Just then, the monster charges at Spica and breathes fire. Spica goes blank. She thinks this is what she gets for saying she'd rather be dead. She braces for death. But then, suddenly, the cat leaps back in and saves her. Just like Claude-sama did years ago. He uses Sagittarius magic, a whirlwind spell, to block the fire. Spica panics and asks if he's okay. The cat tells her not to just stand around as he floats her off to safety. Spica starts crying. She remembers how he always said protecting others was useless. And now here he is, saving her. She realizes she hasn't changed at all since that day. She's still a coward who only talks big, but she also remembers her choice to become a sorceress with the strength to protect others. Then she runs back toward the fire. She apologizes to her master. She came back even though he told her to run. She knows she's powerless. There's no way she can defeat that monster alone. But she can do one thing. She takes a deep breath and kisses. The curse breaks. A powerful light bursts out of the cat. The monster breathes fire again, but now standing tall in the light is not a cat anymore. It's Claude Sirius. He smiles and says the beast barked up the wrong tree. With a wave, he summons a huge tornado and blocks the fire. Claude stands proud, finally human again after 2 whole years. Spica stares in total shock. Her idol is standing right in front of her. Without wasting time, Claude summons a massive crystal arrow and launches it at the beast, turning it into crystal instantly. Somewhere nearby, the mysterious person who had been following them watches everything and then quietly escapes. Claude senses the magic in the air is gone. He says the heretics must have run off. Spica watches amazed. It's been years since she saw it, but she still remembers exactly how Claude's magic looks. She runs up to hug him, overjoyed. She says she never thought it would be him. Claude smiles and says she should have figured it out earlier. Spica replies she didn't expect someone with such a twisted personality to be Claude-sama. She wonders where the kind, gentle Claude from 2 years ago went. She thinks that maybe that sweet guy was just an illusion. Then it hits her. She kissed Claude's butt. She stands frozen in horror. Claude casually drops her on the ground. She yells at him in frustration. He tugs at her cheeks and tells her not to fall in love with fantasy versions of people. It only leads to disappointment. She mutters that he's not sweet at all. Still, she thinks back to that moment. That silhouette that saved her again, just like before. It means everything to her. Claude starts walking away. Now that he's back to normal, their deal is done. But suddenly the flash of light appears again, and he turns back into a cat. Spica screams in shock. Claude is also stunned. Laughing out loud, she reminds him his words. He tries to hold her back and tells her to wait. He gets sweet and tries to flatter her, saying she once said they shared the same destiny. Spica gets mad and says she's going to rip his tongue out. Claude asks the Book of Providence for an explanation as to why he turned back to a cat. The book answers that Spica's magic isn't strong enough yet. She lacks experience. Since Claude is cursed and she is the one to break that curse, their magical levels must match. If they don't, the curse won't be fully undone. So, he will turn back into a cat whenever her magic runs out. Claude finally understands. He has to train Spica so she becomes a proper first-class sorcerer. Spica can't believe what she's hearing. She wonders how someone like her could reach that level. But Claude isn't worried. He says it won't be a problem if she's going to be his apprentice. To begin, he says she needs to get into Diana Academy. But because of his cursed form and the timing of the entrance exam, he can't help her sneak in like this. Unless he becomes human again for a while. He tells her to start calling him Sensei from now on, not Master. He mentions he used to be a professor at Diana. If he talks to the dean, he's sure they'll reinstate him. He says he'll be her teacher at school and tells her to get ready. He's going to give her 3 years of non-stop training. Spica zones out, overwhelmed. She just keeps repeating to herself that Claude-sama is going to be her teacher. He'll be giving her special training. For 3 whole years. It feels like a dream. But Claude has no idea what kind of chaos is waiting for him. The class he's going to be in charge of isn't normal at all. It's called Pandora's Box. The class is filled with the most problematic students in the entire academy. Spica sleeps deeply when a dream overtakes her. In it, Claude Sirius stands before her, reaching out his hand and telling her they've finally met again. Overwhelmed, she realizes how long and desperately she has waited for this moment. But before she can speak, he starts talking about work, mentioning how helpful she could be. Before she can respond, his form shifts into that of a cat, which politely asks her to lend her strength. She screams and jolts awake, only to find him outside her window telling her to wake up and stop lazing around. Spica hurriedly apologizes, addressing the cat as her master. She follows the cat. When they reach the training site, the cat turns serious and tells her it's time to begin. Spica bows respectfully. He asks what the most important element is in casting magic. She answers that it might be having a positive mindset. Seeing the cat's strange expression, she hesitates, wondering if it's mocking her. But she pushes the thought aside, focusing on the moment. The cat reveals a magical affinity chart, surprising her. He explains that every person is born with a specific magical affinity, and using magic outside that affinity is nearly impossible. If she wasn't born with the affinity for flight, no amount of effort will ever lift her off the ground. She nervously asks about her own affinity. The cat explains there are 12 total affinities, each linked to a star sign, and all magic originates from the moon and stars. Listening intently, Spica begins to understand why she's struggled with flight. Only Sagittarius and Aries have that affinity, and she clearly doesn't. Remembering how Arya likely knew this and still mocked her, she feels betrayed and embarrassed. She turns to the cat and asks about her own affinity. The cat tells her she's a Virgo linked to the goddess Demeter, goddess of harvest and agriculture. Her magic is tied to plants, growing them at will, making flowers bloom, and causing crops to ripen. Spica is awestruck. She then asks about rebirth magic, which the Book of Providence mentioned. Claude explains that this magic isn't tied to any affinity and is extremely rare. He also firmly warns her, telling her not to mention it to anyone. Sensing the seriousness in the cat's tone, Spica holds back further questions. The cat instructs her to use her Virgo magic and try growing a small sprout. She takes out her wand, imagines the plant growing, and prays to the stars and the goddess of the earth. The plant suddenly grows tall. She is stunned and overjoyed, twirling with excitement. But the cat, calm as ever, reminds her that this is only the beginning, like using training wheels. To lift the curse, she must become a top-class sorceress, one who can make forests bloom and control the weather. Spica had forgotten how selfish Claude is. According to him, she should be grateful, since it's normal to want something in return for hard work. Her master is not just a realist, but utterly ruthless. She reflects that this is the first time she has ever used magic. A part of her wonders why her master couldn't have praised her a little. She silently says farewell to her first crush and decides that from now on, only the path of magic lies ahead. The cat suddenly asks if she has turned off her magic. She looks down and realizes she's still pointing her wand at the plant. When she asks what it means to turn off magic, the plant wraps around her foot, lifting her high up. Claude tells her to maintain proper control and reprimands her, telling her to try again. After helping her down, Claude is in shock as he has realized a new dimension of Spica. No student has struggled this much with control as she has gotten herself tangled yet again in the vines. Spica begins to wonder if she has no talent at all. The cat coldly affirms it. She reflects deeply and realizes becoming a first-class sorceress is the furthest thing from her goal currently. Now she fears she won't even pass the entrance exam. Just then, her younger brother arrives and tells her their mother has been looking for her. When she says she's busy, he informs her that their mother has a problem in the garden. Upon arriving, her mother explains that she broke her foot falling down the stairs and asks if Spica can take over harvesting for a while. Spica explains that she needs to study for exams, but the cat suggests using magic to do the fieldwork, killing two birds with one stone. Spica objects, calling him Master, and her mother is surprised, asking who she's talking to. The cat reminds her that if the family becomes financially unstable, she won't even be able to pay tuition. Realizing he's right, Spica agrees. The cat declares that from today until the exam, she will do all the fieldwork using magic, and that will be her complete training. Spica asks if that will truly be enough. The cat tells her it depends entirely on her. Though she hasn't yet gained control, the cat tells her to try. But if anything goes wrong, the responsibility will be hers. Spica grips her wand and uses her magic on the orange tree. Oranges begin falling like rain. Some burst open and she realizes she used too much force, but still, it was her best control so far. She doesn't understand why it was so much better than before, but the cat explains. The clearer the image, the stronger the magic. She remembers how she's always imagined this tree, the branches, and the falling fruit in detail. For her, this is natural. She starts to believe she might really be able to do this. The cat begins eating the oranges, claiming the damaged ones for himself. Spica sighs, realizing that was likely his plan all along. She starts harvesting the nose oranges, named for the snake-like tip on each one. They're sweet and seedless. She shakes the branches lightly, but many still fall on her head. She begins trimming and shaping the branches, knowing this helps with sunlight and airflow. Normally, she would use pruning shears, but today she uses magic. She notices the weather growing warmer. Perfect for crimson oranges. Perfect for juicing. To make the harvest successful, she needs to manage pests, guard against birds, and protect from seasonal changes. Her hands grow calloused. Each day ends in exhaustion, but she knows all of this will make the oranges more delicious. These efforts, she realizes, are what make the process worthwhile. Days pass in steady rhythm as the cat continues training Spica without fail. Each morning begins in the orchard, and each evening ends with her exhausted but determined. 6 months slip by this way, and at last, the day before the exam arrives. Spica stands before the trees and uses her magic. This time, the spell works exactly as intended. The orchard responds, the magic takes root, and everything blooms just as she wills it. Her training at last bears fruit, literally. The cat confirms her success with rare approval, and the entire household takes notice. Her mother gathers the sweet, ripe oranges, impressed by their fragrance and quality. Even the cat seems pleased, savoring the taste. Her mother praises her openly, marveling that she managed to complete the entire harvest in half a day. She tells Spica with pride that she has become a real farmer. Spica, touched, declares that she'll grow the tastiest oranges in the world. But a strange unease begins to stir in her. Farming was never the goal. She came here to become a magician. For 6 months, she has focused only on orchards and plants. Now, she isn't sure if that's truly enough. The realization hits she only knows a single spell. Turning to her master, she asks whether she can really pass the exam. The cat answers with calm seriousness. He doesn't know. The entrance exam to Diana changes every year, and the passing rate is only 10%. All she can do now is rely on luck. The next morning, she arrives at the testing site. Arya greets her with scorn, mocking her openly. She belittles Spica's magic, calls her a farmer, and doubts whether she can even grow grass. Spica, refusing to let the words sink too deep, reminds her that the exam relies on luck. Arya remains unbothered, fully confident in her own strength, and taunts her further. Spica responds with quiet resolve. If she passes while Arya fails, she will be the one who has the last laugh. Yet inside, anxiety churns. She isn't certain of anything anymore. Her bag feels unusually heavy. A carriage soon arrives to transport the applicants, and students cheer at the convenience. Spica feels the nerves return. Arya, observing her reaction, points out that every person here is a competitor. All of them seem strong, and Arya herself appears unaffected, completely calm. Watching her, Spica simmers with envy. She wishes she had that kind of composure. Arya reminds her that she can at least try. The journey stretches on. Spica wonders why it's taking so long. Even Arya admits she doesn't know where they're going. Everyone assumed Diana was in the royal capital, but now they find themselves surrounded by mountains. Then the carriage crashes into a boulder. Rocks scatter across the path, completely blocking the way forward. The drivers suggest turning back. Tension grows. Suddenly, the rocks begin to rise unnaturally. All the students stare in shock. A shape begins forming from the stones, towering and threatening. Fear spreads quickly. No one understands what's happening. It attacks, thrusting the carriage to the side, toppling the students. Panic erupts. Students scream, certain they are about to die. At that moment, Spica's bag bursts open and the cat leaps out. He identifies the creature as a golem. Spica is stunned that he followed her. The cat casually tries ignoring, claiming he definitely didn't come to bribe the examiners. Spica accuses him of cheating, but the cat focuses on the golem, explaining that these creatures are constructed from earth and move only by a mage's command. Someone is clearly controlling it. Spica suspects the cultists. The cat claims that the students seem to be the target. Spica calls out to warn everyone, but Arya does the opposite. She stands her ground, calls the creature a bald gorilla, and prepares to cast. Spica watches with concern, thinking she's being too reckless. Arya activates her Aquarius magic, conjuring a powerful spell. Water bursts forward with incredible force and shatters the entity. It becomes clear to everyone Arya is a prodigy, and her control over water magic is extraordinary. Even the cat silently acknowledges her potential, now understanding what she truly is. But the shattered stones begin moving again, converging. Spica realizes the danger. The cat questions her about the weakness of golems, wondering whether she didn't study properly. Spica recalls from her reading that golems have a core like a heart and are controlled through that. She starts scanning the formation and spots a stone slab with something written on it. A golem comes to life only when the word EMETH, meaning truth, is written on the core. If the E is removed, it becomes METH, meaning death, which renders the golem inert. She plans on sharing this information and starts running toward Arya. The cat questions her judgment, asking whether she's learned nothing in 6 months. He encourages her to destroy it herself. Spica answers honestly. She only knows how to harvest oranges. All the high-level magic is beyond her. The cat interrupts, reminding her of her original goal of becoming first class. Spica watches Arya struggle and realizes her master is right. She casts her plant magic. Vines surge forward and entangle the golem, giving Arya a moment of reprieve. Arya notices it was Spica's spell. Spica finally understands. She had been frozen by fear. She apologizes and tells Arya that she knows where the golem's weakness lies. Arya notices that she's clearly still shaking. Spica admits it. She is scared, but she will fight despite her fear, because she still wants to become a witch who can protect others. After witnessing all the chaos, Arya asks Spica seriously whether she has an actual plan. Spica responds that a golem's weak point is its core, where the word emeth, truth, is inscribed, and if the E is erased to form the word meth, death, the golem will collapse. Arya is surprised by this explanation and questions her further. Spica assures her that she will take care of the core herself and asks if Arya can break the golem apart again like she did before. But Arya admits that she cannot because her mana is completely drained after using her ultimate move. Before they can decide on the next step, the stone creature attacks again. Spica narrowly dodges the strike and quickly checks if Arya is all right. Arya tells her to focus on herself. Spica begins to feel uncertain about how to proceed. She knows that unless they break the golem again, she cannot get close to the core. Meanwhile, the golem continues its rampage, launching stones at the other students. They scream and run, desperately calling for help. Seeing this, Spica runs forward. Arya asks her where she's going, and Spica replies that she is going to stop the creature. Arya cannot understand how, but Spica throws some seeds close to the golem. She activates her Virgo magic and conjures veins with her wand, which bind the golem. She realizes she has finally managed to restrain it. Arya is impressed by the unfamiliar magic and wonders if Spica really spent the last 6 months farming. Watching the scene, the cat also begins to understand. Spica had been maintaining a large farm by herself, and through that she had built up stamina and magical control. By focusing solely on one spell, she managed to master it in a short time. He remembers her once saying she was only good for harvesting oranges, and how he had called her foolish for not recognizing her own potential. Now standing before the golem, Spica challenges it directly. Arya, watching her, remembers Spica's dream of becoming a sorceress, and now starts to believe in her resolve. Yet at the same time, Arya becomes slightly irritated, thinking that Spica's clumsiness, her constant failure despite trying, is what makes her the most adorable. Spica, however, is still unsure of how to reach the core, even though the golem is restrained. Suddenly, the creature splits apart to escape the vines. Spica feels disheartened, but the cat sees this as the perfect chance. Spica realizes that if the creature is separating, then the core must now be exposed and easier to target. She spots it and prepares to attack, knowing her mana is almost gone. This will be her last chance, and she must give it everything she has. But the golem notices her plan, and instead of completely regenerating, it begins launching its pieces to stop her from attacking. She quickly produces a barrier to block against the attack. She knows the barrier won't last long, and she has no time to counterattack this way. Just then, Arya uses her Aquarius magic. surrounding them with a water barrier. She turns to Spica seriously and reminds her not to forget her. Arya mentions that she has already set the stage for Spica to win and warns her to finish the job or she will be angry. Spica thanks her and charges forward. She understands that once her protective layer breaks, she will only have one chance. She focuses all the vines into a single massive strike and throws everything she has into the attack. She manages to chip the core, leaving everyone stunned, including herself. The onlookers begin whispering, trying to understand how she pulled it off. They note that she used the same spell repeatedly and begin to question who she really is. Arya, too, begins to appear more intimidating to them. The students start feeling bitter, wondering why this year's examinees are so powerful, and comparing it to their own performances. Arya walks over to Spica and asks when she became this strong. Spica humbly replies that without Arya's help, she would not have been able to win. She feels that it was luck in the end that helped her pull through. At that moment, a voice calls out to them, saying that no one defeats a golem with luck alone. A mage and his team leap down from above. He announces that the examinee number 201 is Spica. She asks seriously how he knows her name, and deduces that he must be the one who controlled the golem. The cat tells her that this man is the deputy headmaster. Spica reacts with surprise, and the cat adds that when he gets angry, he becomes truly frightening. The man then introduces himself as Justice Libra, the current deputy headmaster of Diana Academy, and calmly greets them. Spica realizes she may be in trouble for calling him an old man earlier. All the students are shocked to see him present and rush to tell him about the attack. They anxiously ask whether they are still in time for the exam. The deputy headmaster responds seriously, expressing his regret for the ordeal they faced, and reveals that this was actually the preliminary examination. He assures them that a healer is present to treat any injuries. The students are stunned to hear this. They realize that the golem and everything else had been part of the exam all along. The cat quietly remarks to Spica that he had suspected as much, noticing how the golem made sure not to inflict any serious. The other students begin protesting, saying that if they had known, they would have prepared differently. They argue that they didn't get the chance to show their real abilities and insist it's not fair to be judged like this. The deputy headmaster explains that among magicians, some use magic for good and others for evil. At Diana Academy, purity of heart is most important. He tells them that he has already seen what he needed to see. In moments of danger, their true selves were revealed, whether they chose to protect others, save themselves, run away, or confront the threat. He acknowledges Arya's strength and readiness to act, despite some carelessness. Then he praises Spica for her courage and intelligence, saying that although her magic was not broad, she used it well and with a noble heart. He formally welcomes both of them to Diana Academy. They are surprised that they passed. He tells them the rest of the formalities will be completed later, and that he must continue evaluating the other areas. He advises the remaining candidates to learn from today's experience and strive to improve. With that, he departs, saying he looks forward to meeting them again at Diana. Everyone is left in shock, realizing the ordeal has ended. Many feel regret, thinking of the expensive tutors they had hired. Arya feels a strange agitation despite her passing, and realizes she still needs more training. Spica, on the other hand, is still in disbelief that she passed. It feels like a dream. The cat reminds her not to be too dramatic. This is only the beginning. She notes that he always says things like this. Then, surprisingly, the cat acknowledges her bravery in fighting without running away, and tells her she deserves credit for it. Spica sees a glimpse of that same magician in him, and recognizes how remarkable he is. Seeing her so quiet, the cat asks if she's even listening and tells her she looks foolish. Spica feels embarrassed. She doesn't understand what's wrong with her and wonders why she even pictured him like that. She admits that he complimented him a little earlier, but still doesn't understand why his small praise makes her so happy. Then she realizes that without his training as her master, she never would have gained mastery over magic. She understands that his constant criticism and his relentless testing of her got her this far. Without that, she never would have been able to defeat the golem. At the same time, a magician approaches the headmistress to report a problem. When she asks what happened, he tells her he has received a letter from Claude Sirius. The headmistress is pleased to hear this, happy to know that her foolish student is still alive. The Witch Hat is one of the most famous spots in the Aradia Kingdom. The tree, estimated to be over 1,000 years old, stands nearly 900 meters tall, and through the winding tunnels among its roots is the Grand Royal Diana Academy of Magic, an institution founded almost a millennium ago by the sorceress Selene. Its grounds are vast and filled with buildings of historical importance. With over 600 students across middle and high school levels, the academy reflects prestige in every detail. As Spica sets foot on campus, she struggles to believe she has made it into such a prestigious place. Watching the students, she notices how engaged they are in various activities, including members of the Incantation Writers Society and the Cauldron Research Circle. Everything appears polished and elegant, and even the school uniforms strike her as exceptionally charming. The realization hits her that she is wearing one of those uniforms herself. Her excitement is interrupted by the sudden appearance of a magician, who scolds her for losing focus and points out her visible lack of composure. She is caught off guard and recognizes him as her master, now in human form as Claude Sensei. He reminds her to address him properly at the academy and stresses the importance of keeping their teacher-student relationship a secret. He also points out that they must hide the fact that he can transform into a cat. Spica complains that his constant transformation the moment his mana runs out is exhausting, especially since turning him back requires her to kiss him, something that deeply embarrasses her. Claude asks if she truly dislikes it, which she vehemently confirms. He too admits it is not pleasant for him either, though he has no other way to function as a teacher in feline form. Despite her frustrations, Spica acknowledges the logic in his reasoning. Claude assures her that they are a team with a shared goal of turning her into a first-class sorceress. She accepts this reluctantly. He offers his hand in partnership, and though she takes it, she remains suspicious of his motives. Claude brings up the covens and tells her not to worry, as he intends to speak to the headmistress on her behalf. When asked if she knows what a coven is, Spica admits that she went to a regular school. Before he can explain further, however, Headmistress Jean arrives and questions Claude's conduct, suggesting she isn't surprised. Claude responds casually, and Spica notes how much he resembles a cat. Spica notices how young the headmistress appears. The headmistress remarks that the school is abuzz with talk of Claude's return, noting that rumors claim he fled from heretics, though most gossip is mostly negative. Claude admits to past mistakes and says he wants to discuss the covens. Jean tells him to wait in her office until the coven announcements are made. He agrees respectfully. Claude warns her not to do anything foolish as he needs to speak with the headmistress. He returns the sentiment. As he walks with the headmistress, she seriously questions where he has been for the last 2 years and makes it clear he won't escape accountability. Claude calmly responds, noting that she hasn't aged, and wonders aloud about the magic she must have used. She reminds him to watch his words and says she reinstated him out of generosity. He expresses gratitude. Spica, eavesdropping nearby, realizes with irritation that Claude hasn't yet mentioned her coven placement. Before she can act, she hears someone calling for help. Following the sound, she finds a girl stuck in a wall. The girl explains she accidentally ran into it and is now stuck. Spica, initially unsure if she's serious, is eventually persuaded to help. Grabbing the girl's legs, Spica pulls with all her strength, but the girl cries out that her chest is stuck. Spica puts in more effort and finally manages to free her. The girl thanks her warmly, claiming Spica saved her life. As Spica gets a better look, she notices the girl is stunning. The girl introduces herself as I.O. Taurus and asks for Spica's name. Spica introduces herself as Virgo and says she is a first-year student. I.O. reveals she is too. Realizing they're in the same year, Taurus extends her hand in friendship and expresses her hope that they end up in the same coven. Spica, curious, asks what a coven actually is. Taurus explains that a coven at Diana is essentially a class of 12 students and one teacher who share both their lessons and living quarters for 3 years. She adds that it was originally modeled after a traditional witches' gathering, or witches' Sabbath. Spica is surprised and asks whether it really matters who ends up in her coven. Taurus confirms that it does. Spica then realizes her master's intent behind meeting the headmistress. He must have wanted her in his coven. She hopes the coven members will be good people. Taurus reassures her, saying she has attended Diana since middle school and knows the students. She vouches for their kindness and dedication. This comforts Spica, as Diana is a top-tier academy. Taurus then mentions that the coven announcements are likely happening soon, and asks if Spica wants to go check the bulletin board. As they walk, Spica bumps into a male student. He immediately apologizes and checks if she's hurt. When she says she's fine, he expresses relief and compliments her beauty. Spica is shocked and is blushing as she begins to mumble. But he has already turned to Io, complimenting her appearance as well, and introduces himself as Libra. Watching him, Spica becomes irritated, realizing he's a typical flirt. As another person walks by, Libra abruptly shifts direction. He tells Taurus they'll continue the conversation later and approaches the new person, claiming they dropped a handkerchief and addressing them with flattery. Spica watches the situation unfold with confusion, finding Libra's behavior hard to understand. He seems like a practiced flirt, using transparent excuses to initiate conversations. Taurus also notices that the girl Libra approached hasn't actually dropped anything. He's simply making an excuse. At the same time, Io heard that Libra was actually the son of the deputy headmaster, which triggers a memory in Spica's mind of a stern, intimidating face. Libra catches up to the student, admits to lying about the handkerchief, and grabs their hand to ask for a moment. Spica, uneasy, turns to Taurus and suggests stopping him, but Taurus calmly explains that she and Libra both attended Diana Academy since middle school, and she's familiar with his ways. Before anything more can happen, the student whose hand Libra grabs turns out to be a boy. He throws a punch at Libra, but he narrowly dodges it. Taurus quietly tells Spica that his name is Castor Gemini. Clearly angry, Gemini demands to know who Libra is calling my lady, and threatens physical violence. Libra, now realizing that Gemini is visibly male and wearing pants, wonders how he could have made such a mistake. Libra tries to de-escalate, claiming it was a misunderstanding. Castor's not offended by his remarks, but rather the fact that he laid a hand on him. Libra retorts with sarcasm, asking if Gemini is a germaphobe. Their tension begins to attract attention from the surrounding students, who whisper nervously about Libra's connection to the deputy headmaster. A fight seems imminent. Spica steps forward, hoping to intervene. But before she can, a girl leaps from a chandelier and lands between them. She reprimands them for fighting and complains that they are drawing more attention than she is. She introduces herself as Leo, and Spica immediately senses her strength. Libra introduces her as the noble daughter of House Regulus, but is puzzled by her dramatic entrance. Leo admits to climbing the chandelier for attention, which Spica finds illogical. Gemini demands Leo move out of the way, calling her a meathead. She responds with equal force, declaring that she'll stop them by any means. Libra, watching the chaos, considers both of them uncivilized. Taurus, entirely disengaged, wonders aloud about lunch. Spica, witnessing this, wonders that the students at Diana were supposed to be kind and composed. As Spica debates whether to intervene, she grows curious about the magic being used. Libra begins casting, closing his eyes. Gemini mocks him, but Libra easily dodges attacks, claiming he doesn't need to see for such weak attacks. Gemini counters with Mirror Augment, creating a clone of himself to challenge Libra. Students nearby begin panicking and calling for a teacher as magic begins to fly. Leo steps in with her own magical transformation, chastising them both for ignoring her. She charges into battle, determined to draw the attention back to herself. Libra declines the challenge, saying he would normally accept an invitation from a beautiful girl, but not this time. Spica, overwhelmed by the escalating madness, realizes she might need to stay far away from these people for the next 3 years. Just then, a stone strikes her on the head. Taurus rushes to check on her, but Spica laughs it off, saying she has a hard skull. Taurus, reminded of Spica's earlier help, becomes enraged and runs toward the fight, determined to retaliate. Spica tries to stop her, but Taurus, now enormous due to her magic, barrels ahead and commands the others to stop fighting. Watching her, Castor remarks that the girls are more dangerous than the boys. Libra jokes that big girls are beautiful too. Leo, envious of the attention Taurus receives, wants to learn about that magic. Spica warns Taurus about her exposed figure, and as Taurus tries to hide it, she trips and falls to her magically enhanced size, sending her hurtling towards Spica. At that moment, Spica braces herself, feeling as if she is about to be crushed under an unstoppable force, but she never does. Suddenly, Claude-sensei appears, his voice stern as he declares that enough is enough. He reminds everyone that this is a school, not a battlefield. His sudden return stuns the students, who now recognize him and realize he is indeed back. They respectfully address him as Sir and flood him with questions about his disappearance in the past 2 years. Gemini steps forward with cold anger, demanding to know why he has returned. Claude-sensei replies that he came back for them for the students. He begins calling out the names of everyone involved in the fight, lifting them into the air with magic one by one. He declares that they are now part of the Claude Coven, and from this day forward, they are his students. Spica is left in shock, realizing that she is in the same coven with this chaotic group. She questions how she will possibly survive 3 years. Earlier, when Claude Sensei met with the headmistress, she acknowledged the hardship he's faced and assured him that she will welcome him back as her former apprentice. She agrees to include Spica in his coven. However, she warns that the wider world won't accept him so easily. Rumors have spread and his credibility is damaged. His reputation isn't what it once was. She explains that to reestablish himself, he must pass a test. She reveals that she has placed powerful but rather unruly students in his coven and expects him to handle them. She lists some of the students: Capella of Capricorn, Yahu of Aries, Mero of Pisces, Chiron of Sagittarius, Tarf of Cancer, Hana of Scorpio, and Arya of Aquarius. The students, for their part, feel honored to have Claude Sensei as their teacher. As Claude looks upon his students, he recalls the headmistress's warning that all of them must graduate and none must drop out. If even one fails, he loses his place at Diana. He accepts this responsibility, determined to begin his new life as a teacher. But just when the lesson is about to begin, he is nowhere to be found. Only his signature hat remains. Claude has vanished. Suddenly a cat appears among them, charming everyone. No one understands where it came from. Claude, now in feline form, approaches Spica and informs her that her mana was completely used up during his earlier spells. Spica asks what they are supposed to do now, and Claude requests that she break the curse again. Spica tries running away from the situation as the class is cancelled due to the absence of the professor.
Here I am, know it's been a while.